capturing life's essential ingredients, one story at a time. We speak, or more so, listen to all types of people, hoping to inform, inspire, and transform lives, hoping to build community, one community at a time. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and the mic. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Life's Essential Ingredients and Off the Air. And I'm sure you can tell when you get on our YouTube channel, man, my Pasho looks amazing today. Very beautiful. He got the best haircut in the world for free, $99. His daughter, Daniela, is home from LSU and hooked him up. Man, you look good, Pasho.
Thank you. Considering what it looked like before, yeah, what an improvement. She did a phenomenal job. So it's nice and trim. I did put a lot of gel in there per her orders, but I'm happy with it. Thank you for noticing.
We looking good, and I know our guest Taylor Edge is so excited to see how pretty you look. And I'm going to jump right to it, Taylor, before you start talking, because I've met Taylor once. I've heard about him through my good friend and his good friend, Lauren Stamatis, now Lauren Glenn, the coach at Olivet Nazarene University, them Fighting Tigers. Yes. But the main thing that jumped out at me when I met Taylor, and I got to steal from the great Dr. Maya Angelou, her quote, and Taylor, this is what the effect that you had on me. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And just, and that's the truth, and this show is just about speaking from the heart. And right immediately when I met you, I just felt that. And then getting to listen to you, I loved your accent. Getting to listen to you sing just touched my heart. And I'm sure you've heard that or some sentiment of that before, of people describing you in that way. And I say that with the most honor and kindness and love, because that's who you are, even though we've only crossed paths that one time. But so thank you so much for coming on to the show. Again, we have Taylor Edge out in Alabama and gonna share some insight on his life's essential ingredients. So Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Mike. Very nice to meet you. And you made a great first impression. So the haircut did well. So
it's working. All right.
That's right. I appreciate you guys so much. And I appreciate what you're doing with this show. And those are such kind words, Jeff. It means I can't really express, what that means to me, that I made that impression on you. And so I'm humbled by that and thankful. And I am ready to just speak from the heart and let you kind of ask some questions, and I'll respond in the way that comes definitely from the heart. So again, thank you guys so much for doing the show and for inviting me to be on it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump. I got a crazy question right out of the gate for you, Taylor. If you had to introduce yourself through music, since you like to sing, and this is to somebody that you don't know, and what song would you pick and why? And again, you're, instead of going up and say, hey, I'm Taylor Edge, I specialize in character development, I'm a believer in everything, you got to just hit this play button and this is the song. What song do you pick and why?
Well, there could be a lot. I'm a parrot head, so I could go that direction, but I'm not. I could probably pick some of those. But I would say the song is called Resurrected. You did mention that faith has been a big part of my life, and I guess if somebody wanted to get to know me now, I would probably turn them on to that song. I would play that song. It says. Who am now is a resurrected person from the person I was for the half of my life, and so I would pick Resurrected.
Nice. Unfortunately, we missed a little chunk of that. You froze up on our end. Can you just replay that for one quick?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Sorry about that. I would pick the song Resurrected. Yeah, some of the verse, some of the chorus of that song says, from the ashes I will rise. From the ashes of defeat, the resurrected King has resurrected me. And I think that's a representative song of my life and what I've done now in the second half of my life. I'm super proud of. And I think if you played that song, that would give you a glimpse into who I am and the person I am now.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Pasho, can I put you on the spot? You got one or no? Should we just roll on? I know that's a tough. And Taylor came up big. I'm still going to buy you a little bit of time because I don't think that's an easy question to answer.
No. I mean, you've got to go throughout most of your life and just think what song affected you at what time. And, you know, a lot of times it got you through, a song can get you through some troubled times. So yeah, that takes some thought. I never even thought about it.
All right. Well,
that was a great.
I'm going to leave it there for right now because we want to get Taylor talking and sharing about everything that he's doing. And definitely on your LinkedIn profile, Taylor, you are the CEO, the Chief Encouragement Coach. And let's just talk about that. What does that mean? And I love it, you know, right out of the gate. But what does that mean to you?
Yeah. Yes, just a little play on words, CEO, Chief Encouragement Officer. I just think that's so important. I just think encouragement is, you know, the only person that doesn't need encouragement is nobody. And so I think that's just something, I think it's a gift, honestly. Jeff, you mentioned that how I made you feel when we were there together in Bourbonnais, and that's so special to me, and, you know, encouragement is such an important thing, and just a simple text, a call, a smile. I just think that's what sets the tone in relationships, you know, is encouragement, consistency in that encouragement. And so I've been the executive in another portion of my life, but I have been a CEO, but the CEO I am now, I think, is so much more life-giving than the one that I was before.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love how you say it's a skill. And I don't mean to sound like an old guy, but I work with young people, and I'm gonna jump right onto my Pasho though. He's the head coach of Mary Star boys basketball, the varsity team in San Pedro. And I love when I have the opportunity to go watch him practice or go watch him at his game because he's just a real mellow guy. And if I were to use one word other than chill, it would be encourager. And he just makes his players feel like they can conquer any obstacle in their way just by encouraging them. And so that's, again, you were asking me off air of what are we doing with this show? You know, even just that, you know, this has already been a great show just with that. If the listeners can just take, hey, how can I learn how to encourage? And so I'm going to come back to you since that's your expertise. How would the listener just make that part of their skill set in what they do each and every day?
Great question. I think you said it in a different way, and I would use, it's something you got to choose to do, you know, because I think we all want it. We all thrive on it, honestly, if we're honest, even with ourselves. But it's something that you have to choose to do. You have to have an others mindset. I think that's the other thing we talk, you know, Jeff and I remember times together with you, and we would talk about leadership, and I know that C4 leaders, and we mentioned about that, but it's all about servant leadership. So I think the first thing to be an encourager is you got to be others focused. If you're not others focused, you're going to have a hard time encouraging others. Just, I mean, that kind of sounds obvious about what I just said, but it is. You've got to be others focused, and then it becomes easier, or you see a lot of opportunities, but you still have to choose to do it. I use my phone a lot, but July 4th, I declared Independence Day. I declared freedom from social media. I deleted the apps. I literally deleted Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and it was so good. I had so much more time but I used my phone in a different way, and I used it with text messages. And I would send a text message to Coach Glenn. You know, Lauren, you mentioned her back in the summer when we didn't know what was going on with COVID and so forth. I used it to reach out to her, check in how she's doing, you know, just how a great a coach I remember her being, and just the fond times I had with her teams, your daughter being on that team and being a part of her journey with that team. And I just think that can do so much good, especially in 2020, just reaching out and reminding people. That's what a lot about encouragement is too. You just got to remind them who they are, remind them of our relationship, remind them how they mean to you. I think if you just use those little simple tips, you'll be amazing what a simple text message or phone call could do.
Yeah, no, I love that. And again, that's what I witnessed in the time that we had together. I'm going to go back. You said a key 2 words, others focused. And I think there's so many distractions, and obviously you felt like your social media was a distraction of taking, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but potentially taking some of the energy that you would want to put into others was going into the social media. And my question to you and to my pasha would be, what tip would you give to somebody? It doesn't matter if you're 10 or 90, but somebody that's addicted to their phone and is not able to see anybody other than themselves. What tip would you share, and how would you help them overcome that challenge?
Well, the first thing I would say is, the problem isn't the phone. The problem is how we interact with the phone. And what I tell young people that I work with, I said, you need to use it, quit letting it use you. And a big part of that is social media. So the first thing that I would say to someone, that if they were getting wrapped up, especially in comparison, or I'll tell you, Jeff, the reason that I did it, because it started making me angry. It started making me bitter. I was frustrated. And it's almost like, I was making a frustration pie, and I was just feeding myself with it every day. No wonder I was frustrated. No wonder I was bitter. I was just, the division, the bias, the manipulation I saw on social media, it was starting to affect me and my ability, honestly, to be others focused. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I had to have some self-awareness to say, this is not good. This is not good. I started being, again, having those emotions and things. And I knew that I could not be the CEO that I wanted to be in that. So I would say, first of all, have some awareness about what's going on and how social media is making you feel. And then obviously once the way you feel is making you behave in a certain way. So use your phone. Don't let it use you. I'd delete social media apps. Give yourself a week. Just delete them for a week and see how different you feel. Mike, what are your thoughts about a phone?
I'm glad you asked. I feel the same way. It's amazing how much time flies when you're on that phone and you haven't done anything, and just time gets away with you. I see it with my family, same thing. I've got 4 kids, and I see how much time they spend on there. And especially when you tell them to do something or remind them of something, and they'll say they'll get to it. And 5 hours later, they still haven't got to it because they didn't even hear you the first time. So I think you hit it right on the head. It's how you use the phone. Don't let the phone use you. I think that's a great point to tell all the youth, or just anyone in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, speaking of phone, let's talk about reading and reading books. You like that transition there? I always do kind of crazy stuff like that, Taylor.
Smooth.
iBooks. He went from the phone to iBooks. So that's another great way to use your phone, by the way.
But I'm old school. I want to have the book in my hand, and
for me the phone's too small.
Yeah,
my eyes can't see it, man.
Yeah,
Got to keep moving it back and forth. Don't work for me.
Yeah. But so Taylor, I know you wrote a book, More Than a Believer. I have not read it, unfortunately, but I will because I love to read. But give us a little flavor of the book. How that process was for you of just gathering those thoughts, the inspiration behind it, and kind of what's going on now that you've written it.
Yeah. Thank you. I didn't set out to write a book. You know, that I think that you hear that a lot, I think, from some people, especially that wouldn't consider themselves authors. You know, I didn't set out, but I had a friend that you may know or heard of, Jamie Gilbert. Is a good friend of mine, and he would always encourage me, "Man, you need to write a book." I'm like, "I don't know how to write a book." You know, the reason he and I got connected was because of his book. So I'm comparing myself to him. Like, man, you guys, that's a book. I don't have a book in me. So first of all, I would say that. But I really got inspired. Really, my book is about my life. It's a reflection of the first question you asked me about the song, about being resurrected, being a new person, being a person that's different and changed. And it's really I guess you would call it an autobiography. You know, I kind of get real vulnerable in that book and tell about my past, because most people like yourself, you met the now me, you didn't know the old me, and so I get vulnerable and talk about the old me, and then I talk about the process of some infertility in our marriage and with our trying to have kids. That was a turning point in my life, and then what I did about it, what I then did to grow in my faith and become what I call a follower of Christ rather than just a believer. Than it being just something up there in your mind, but it's something that sinks down into your heart. So that's what really inspired me. I saw a lot of people just going through the motions and missing out, honestly, on the best life that they could have. And so I wrote for 3 months. I was super inspired, and then I hit the wall. I was out. I'm like, I don't have anything else. I'm like 50 pages in, and I'm like, I quit. I'm like, I don't have anything else. I don't know what else to write. And so I closed it off for 3 months. And I was talking to a friend of mine one day, and he was asking me advice about what job to take. He was going to go to two schools to be a coach, and he said, well, should I go to Minnesota or should I go to Iowa State? I'm like, I don't know. We started talking about where he's feeling led and what he feels that is the best spot for him to grow, and don't look so much about success, but, you know, where's the right fit for him? And it was a great decision. He said, you helped me a lot. And he started asking me about myself and my book. And I said, well, I've hit the wall. And finally, you know, he said, it sounds like you need to take your own advice. And I went, oh, okay. You know, and he said, just open it back up. Just start writing. You don't have to know what or how, or just, why don't you just pop it up and start again? And I was like, okay. And I did. So it started flowing again. So it was about a 10 or 11 month process. I wrote for 3 months, wrote nothing for 3 months. And then I wrote the end of it for 3 months, and then figured out how to self-publish it on Kindle, KDP myself. That took a month, and I just let it rip in January 2019.
Man, yeah, congratulations on that. That is awesome. I'm going to get into a crazy question, and we got a little sound clip, but I think it's going to tie in perfect with you and your book. But I want you to think of a time. Well, have you seen The Internship, first of all?
I have not.
Oh, with Vince Vaughn?
Have not.
Okay. You're going to enjoy this then. I want you to think of a time when you were kind of forced into, let's just say, a blender and shrunken down to the size of a nickel and forced into that thing, and you came out stronger. And I got this little clip that I'm going to play for us here.
Lives? What?
What?
Let me just recap this for you real quick. We started off in a now we're saving lives. What?
What?
Wait a minute. We were stuck in a blender, and now we're saving lives? What?
You guys led us to this. Thank you.
Obviously, you haven't seen that. That is one of my favorite movies, The Internship with Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
And that little clip, they're in an interview at a library for Google. And they're going to be interns, and they ask them, hey, you're shrunken down to the size of a nickel and thrown in this blender. And then that's that clip. And they're like, what? We're shrunken down. Now we're saving lives. And it's funny. So you definitely got to see that. But back to the question is, just imagine, you know, what is a time in your life where you were just thrown around and at the time you're just spinning around and round and round and just wondering what the heck is going on with this. But then by the time the dust settled, you realize that you came out stronger. And some lesson that you took from that perhaps can resonate with our listeners.
I've got one.
Nice.
it's amazing. Typically, I can't come up. I've always been worried about putting on the spot about what's your favorite this or that. But hopefully I'm about to be 2 for 2 with answers. I don't know how good the answers are, but at least I got one.
You're amazing.
In 2013, I felt led, called out of my businesses. I owned 2 boat companies, and everything was going great. I felt the Lord call me into making a positive impact on the lives of young people. And so went about the process of trying to sell my businesses. And so by some weird occasion, it happened. So December 31st, 2013, I sold both of those businesses. And then in May of that year, I was sent papers and I was being sued for intellectual property infringement.
Wow.
So I was being sued by the person that bought my company.
Wow.
That was tough. That was tough because what you realize, now I realize, I'm a character coach, and character is what I'm all about. It basically, that intellectual, I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't kill anybody. I'm not being put on trial for that, but basically my integrity was on trial. And so that's a core of your character, your integrity. So that was a tough process, a really tough process. And you can't control that. So anybody can sue anybody. You can't, you have to go through it. You can't just say no. I wanted to, but I couldn't. So I went through it at depositions and felt like you're being tricked into answering the wrong thing. It's terrible. That's the blender. All right. And I felt like a nickel. I felt as much as I was coming out of this new season of my life. The Lord had called me into doing this. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was going to go do it. And all of a sudden, bam, I'm sued. And I didn't think I did anything wrong, but you're writing checks to lawyers to defend yourself for something you didn't do. And so that's a blender. I don't know if either one of you have ever been involved in that, but it's a blender. And so the interesting thing about that was I was leasing the property. The people that bought my company were leasing the building and the property. So I sold the company, but I kept the facility. So the same person that's suing me for 7 digits is the guy that I got to take care of. That's my I'm his landlord. And water lines break and bugs get in and things happen that you have to fix things. And so I made a choice. Here's the point of this. I made a choice that I was still going to do exactly what I needed to do. And if he called me with a problem with that building, I wasn't going to be vengeful. I wasn't going to, I'm not calling him back. Those are the same guy. I'm like, nope, I'm going to take care of it. If they call me, I'm going to call them right back. If the problem is mine in the building, I'm going to get it fixed. I am not going to let how they treat me affect how I am going to treat them. And that was hard. It was hard. But I just made a decision. That's what I was going to do. And, about 10 months later and a good amount of dollars later, they dropped the case. I was out of it. And so I was super thankful for that. That the lawyers don't give your money back if once you're dropped the case. FYI on that. But that
no refund?
No refunds. Oh. So Jeff, that's the lesson that I learned, that if you can get to a point where you can treat people, don't treat people based on the way they treat you, but on the decision that you've made in your own heart, how you are going to be. I think your life can be different. Your life can be next level. I think that's I don't know what the word is to that ingredient. I don't know if it's Italian seasoning that's got a lot of different things in it, but I think that's if you can get to that point, I think you'll be making some headway in your life.
Wow. What an answer, first of all, for being put on the spot, not even being familiar with the internship. I don't even know if you can hear what I was playing real well or not. But
they were talking real fast. I know that.
you answered like a champ. And yeah, sometimes I'll share with young people or old people, like get out of your own way is one thing. And then it's always bigger than you. And, you know, with all three of us being believers, and I think realizing that it is bigger than us, I'm sure that was a big part of your transformation to go from being so hurt to, hey, you know what, I got to let that go. And it is bigger than me. And I'm going to go do the best that I can and be a man of character.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's awesome. What a great story.
Yeah, that was a test. That was a test of your character. You know, you don't treat people based on who they are. You do it based on who you are.
Yeah. Wow. And speaking
And,
of, oh, go ahead, Pasha.
I was going to say, Taylor, did that make the whole, I mean, that's a terrible thing to go through, but once you made that decision, was it a little easier for you to get through that whole scenario?
No.
Oh. Fair
And
enough.
he's
Okay.
I know you wanted me to say yes, but
I didn't know. I was asking.
right. No, it almost made it a little harder, but it speaks to the test. It speaks to the adversity. If it would have been easy for me to do it, maybe I wouldn't have learned so much. But it would, because it was hard to do. And that's what shaped my character going forward. And not, I'm no perfect guy by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, we could go into a whole thread of how adversity, you know, shapes your character. How you respond to adversity shapes your character for the future. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get into some character a little bit. And again, C4 Leaders is a California, Northern California kind of grassroots nonprofit that's changing our focus and using pizza to bring people together. And so henceforth, the name Life's Essential Ingredients, because once this COVID stuff is over, we're going to be hitting the road. We got a pizza truck, an old Toyota Tundra that we're going to go around and just break bread with people and try and help us as an organization and help the individuals, families, communities, businesses that we work with to focus on their life's essential ingredients. And so don't want to take up too much of your time, but you've already blessed us with so much wisdom from what's been going on in your life up to this point. Do you have any other essential ingredients that you'd like to share with the listeners that perhaps could help them add to their life recipe?
I would say, and we talked about this before we started recording, is you need to do some work on yourself. You need to figure out what is, because, you know, honestly, Jeff, I don't know what yours is. And really, honestly, you only know what yours is. And, you know, Mike, you're the same way. And, you know, what encouragement, energy, character, risk, change. I love your daughter. I listened to the previous podcast. I loved your daughter talking about change. I was actually a city administrator for the city of Madison, where I lived for many years. So her desires and passion for political science and change through that was interesting to hear. I want to encourage her in that. But I think what I'm doing now is I put a program together called Season Builder, and it really is just a lot of questions that help people understand what's in them. You know, because what works for me may or may not work for you, Jeff, may or may not work for you, Mike. But there's something in there, you know, that I believe, you know, that God made them a certain way, and they need to go on a little exploration to start looking into that. And so what I would say, you know, I've got some that work for me: energy and enthusiasm and risk and change. All those are great for me, but I don't know what's great for you. But ask yourself, you know, find a mentor, find someone that's a little bit ahead of you, and just have a conversation for them. Let them ask you some questions and start digging down. I say that life's a lot more about archaeology than architecture sometimes. You know, you got to dig down, you got to find out what's down in there so you can live that out. And so that's how I would answer that question about life's essential ingredients for your listeners.
Yeah, no, I love that answer, and that's a big part of the intent of this show was to get guests that have just some life experience that can share that. Because just like if you're having a pizza and you don't necessarily know what ingredients you like or don't like, sometimes it's nice to just take a couple different kinds of pizza and figure, hey, well, I don't like anchovies, or yeah, pineapple is good. And then let me go learn more about that. And so I know you've shared a lot of great things that the listeners can explore. Where would people be able to, I know you're not on social media now, but if someone wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that? And like, hey man, Taylor, what you said really resonated with me and I'd love to learn more about it.
Well, I will say I have entered back into the fight, so I don't scroll. I post. I try to treat social media in a one-way type of thing. But EdgeGainer is my organization that I created. If you go to edgegainer.com, you can find out a lot about me. EdgeGainer on social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also take a look at my program called Season Builder if you're interested in really trying to dig down and have someone do some definition and awareness with you, but also have some encouragement and accountability to help you work on some things in your life. That's something I'm doing. So I would love to hear from any of your listeners and just love to just make a positive impact on the lives of young people. That's what it's all about for me.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of seasons, obviously COVID, and we're not trying to get too crazy with the COVID stuff because that's so much talk about all that, but obviously it's changing the seasons of every team. And are you currently working with any teams, and what have you seen as the opportunities that COVID has presented to you through these changes?
The first opportunity, and we talked about this before we were online, the first opportunity it gave me was to slow down. I never would have developed the Season Builder program if COVID would not have happened, because I wouldn't have slowed down long enough. I'd have been here and there and moving and shaking and meeting with this person and that person. So the first opportunity it gave me is to slow down and actually birth this program. Second thing is, we're doing some Zoom things. The last 2 years, I've been the character coach for University of Alabama Huntsville's men and women's basketball programs. But at the end of March of their past season, I stepped away from that to really focus on one-on-one, because I think that's where you can really, really move the needle. For years, I've spoken to groups and I've worked in groups and given talks and those things, but where life change starts to occur and where relationships start being built and vulnerability starts unlocking some things for people is one-on-one. So that's where I'm focusing now. So I work with a lot of University of Alabama Huntsville players, but also Louisiana Tech. I'm working with a GA from Louisiana Tech. I've got a guy in Atlanta. I'm working with a soccer player from Memphis. So it's just evolving. But the thing about it now is I've kind of transitioned from the team things. I'm actually even wearing my Tiger Ball sweatshirt today.
Yeah, I saw the Tiger. I love it.
And so I focused on one-on-one. And I've really gotten a lot of great response from one-on-one mentoring.
Man, I love it. Again, everybody's lucky to be able to listen in to Taylor Edge at EdgeGainer. You can reach out to him if you want to work one-on-one with him. Again, I'm Jeff with a mic, and we're with C4 leaders. Last thing that I'm going to throw out to you, Taylor, C4 obviously is an explosive and is powerful, and we have a process called Lighten the Fuse, which is basically about taking action. What would be the last action that you would like to challenge the listeners to take from all this wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us today?
Here's what I would tell them. We're a lot on growth. I mean, you and I, Mike, I'm sure you're, big learning and growing guy. But here's what I would say, that you don't necessarily need to know more. You just need to do more with what you already know. So many people are so locked up. Well, I don't know I don't know this. I don't know this. Well, if we just shut it all down, if we just burned all the books, if we turned off the internet and all you had to go on was what you already knew, I'm convinced you would be a powerful force. So sometimes you don't need to know more. You just need to do more with what you already know.
Man, he's that good, Pasho. He ties all that in to Lighten the Fuse, which is about taking action. Taylor Edge is talking about doing more with what you have. And basically all I can say is boom, that just happened. Pashito, you got anything to get us out?
Oh man, Taylor, thank you. Your energy, enthusiasm, it was welcoming to just listen to you. And that last little boom you dropped on us, yeah, I tell that to the kids all the time. Don't ask me too many questions. Go figure it out. You're smart enough. You can do it. So I love that. And thank you so much. Appreciate it. And can you say the name of your book one more time and where we might be able to get it?
Yeah, thank you. The name of the book is More Than a Believer, A Practical Guide to a Transformed Life. And it's available on Amazon.
All right.
You
Thank
search
you.
More Than a Believer on Amazon. It should come up, and you can get it in paperback or in Kindle.
All right, Taylor, last question for me, and it's an easy one. As you know, this is a new show. Off the air, can you send us or just talk about maybe 2 other guests that need to be on Life's Essential Ingredients that our listeners need to hear from?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely. I let the wheels turn. I'd be more than happy to share some names of people I think would be great.
All right. Again, this is Jeff with a mic. Taylor Edge was our guest today on Life's Essential Ingredients. Thanks and take care. Pasho, get us out of here.
Thanks, Taylor. Love everyone. See you guys soon.
Thank you so much for having me.